want to win? Get up and push yourself. Life does not reward the one who sits and waits. It rewards the one who dares to rise when it's easier to stay down. You are not here to survive the day, you are here to conquer it. Every second you waste doubting yourself, the world moves forward without you. And here's the truth. No one is coming to save you. You have to save yourself. You have to get up. Even when your body screams, stay down. You have to push yourself, even when the road is uphill. Even when no one is watching. Even when you feel like you have nothing left to give. Because the moment you decide to rise, that's the moment you start to win. The truth about winning. The word sounds glamorous. It paints pictures in our minds of trophies, applause, bright lights, and people cheering our names. But here's what they never tell you. Most people lose long before the game even begins. Not because they're weak, not because they're unlucky, but because they quit in the shadows, in the silence, before the world even knew they were trying. They lose when they choose comfort over challenge. They lose when they let fear decide their next step. They lose when they wait for perfect conditions that will never come. The truth about winning is this. It's not an event. It's not a single glorious moment where the world crowns you victorious. It's a lifestyle, a mindset, a way of showing up to life every single day, even when no one is keeping score. It is forged in the quiet, unseen hours when there's no reward, no recognition, no applause, just you and the choice to keep moving forward. We've been sold the myth of overnight success, the fairy tales where someone wakes up one day, discovers their gift, and instantly becomes great. But those stories leave out the years of work, the sacrifices no one saw, the countless moments they felt like quitting but didn't. Winning is not a lightning strike, it's the slow, relentless burn of showing up day after day. Most people think winners are born different. They believe winners have some secret advantage, a special talent, the right connections, better opportunities. But look closely, and you'll find that the true champions of life started out just like everyone else. They felt fear, they faced doubt, they made mistakes. The difference, they didn't let those moments define them. They understood something most people never realize. Winning doesn't require perfection, it requires persistence. Think about the world's greatest athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, and leaders. Their victories weren't born out of convenience. They weren't waiting for a day when everything felt easy. They didn't win because they were the most comfortable. They won because they were willing to be uncomfortable longer than anyone else. They embraced the grind. They learned to stand in the storm without running for shelter. Here's the hard truth: you will fail. You will stumble. You will have days where nothing works, where every door seems locked, where the voice in your head whispers, "It's not worth it." And in those moments, you will face a choice: stay down or get up, quit or continue, complain or commit. This is where the separation happens. This is where the winners are made, not in the moments of glory, but in the decision to rise after defeat. Winning is also deeply personal. It's not about being better than someone else, it's about being better than you were yesterday. It's about keeping promises to yourself. It's about proving to you that you can endure, that you can grow, that you can fight for what you said you wanted, even when it stops feeling exciting, Because the truth is, excitement fades, passion fades, but commitment, that's the fuel that keeps the fire alive when everything else burns out. And let's be real, you will never feel ready. If you wait until you feel ready, you will spend your entire life waiting. Winners start before they feel prepared. They act before they know all the answers. They leap before they see the whole path, because they understand that clarity comes from movement, not from standing still. The truth about winning is this: it belongs to the ones who refuse to stop, the ones who push forward when no one believes in them, the ones who learn to turn pain into power, projection into redirection, and failure into fuel. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's a choice you make over and over again, until winning becomes part of who you are. The power of getting up life will knock you down. Not once, not twice, but over and over again. And sometimes it won't be a soft fall, it will be a crash that takes your breath away. The kind of fall that leaves you staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., wondering if it's even worth trying again. And this is where most people stay on the ground, convincing themselves that this is where they belong. But the truth is, getting up is not just an action, it's a declaration to the world and to yourself that you will not be broken. Every single person you admire has been on the floor, defeated, humiliated, exhausted. But the reason you admire them is because they didn't stay there. They found the strength to rise when no one expected them to. They got back up when logic told them not to. They stood tall when everything in them wanted to stay curled up and invisible. Getting up is more than resilience, it's the seed of transformation. Every time you rise from a fall, you're not just returning to where you were. You're becoming someone stronger, wiser, and more capable than before. The act of standing again rewires your mind. It teaches your brain that defeat is not permanent, that pain is not the end, and that every ending can be turned into a beginning if you refuse to stay down. Look at the stories that inspire us the most: athletes who came back from career-ending injuries, entrepreneurs who rebuilt after bankruptcy, individuals who lost everything and still found a way forward. What makes their stories so powerful is not the victory itself, it's the comeback. It's the moment they refused to let failure write their final chapter. And here's the thing about getting up: it doesn't always happen quickly. Sometimes it's a slow, painful crawl before you can stand again. And that's okay. It's not about how fast you rise. It's about the fact that you do, even if your legs are shaking, even if your heart is heavy, even if no one is there to cheer you on. Because the truth is, the applause isn't what gives you strength. The choice to rise is what gives you strength. When you get up after falling, you send a message to the deepest part of your soul: I can take a hit and still move forward. That's how confidence is built, not by avoiding the fall, but by proving to yourself that you can survive it. Every rise plants a memory in your mind that says, I've been here before, and I can do it again. Some people wait for someone else to help them up, and yes, sometimes you'll have people who reach out a hand, but more often than not, you'll be alone in that moment. And that's where the real growth happens, when you realize you have the power to stand on your own. Because if you can lift yourself once, you can do it 100 times. Getting up is also contagious when you rise. You inspire others to do the same. Your comeback becomes the proof someone else needed to believe in their own. You may not even realize it, but your resilience can become someone else's lifeline. This is why getting up is non-negotiable. It's not about pretending the pain didn't happen. It's not about ignoring the loss. It's about saying, this is not where my story ends, because every time you rise, you give yourself another chance to fight, to grow, to win. Self-discipline, the engine behind every victory. Getting up is the first step. But getting up once is not enough. You can rise 1,000 times. But if you don't develop the strength to keep moving forward, every single day, you will find yourself back on the ground again. This is where self-discipline steps in. Motivation may light the fire, but self-discipline keeps it burning when the winds of doubt and fatigue try to put it out. Most people think they lose because they lack motivation. But the truth is, motivation is fickle. It comes and goes like the weather. You can't rely on it. One day you wake up inspired and unstoppable. The next, you can't even find the will to get out of bed. That's why the most successful people don't depend on feelings, they depend on discipline. They have trained themselves to act regardless of their mood. Self-discipline is not about punishing yourself, it's about training yourself to do what must be done, especially when you don't feel like doing it. It's waking up early to work on your goals even when your body begs for more sleep. It's going to the gym when your mind tells you it can wait until tomorrow. It's staying focused on the task. When distractions are screaming for your attention, don't think about it. The world is full of people with talent, intelligence, and great ideas who never make it. Why? Because they lack the discipline to consistently show up. The gap between the life you have and the life you want is often filled with nothing more than the daily, unglamorous grind of doing the work. Winners understand this. They understand that greatness is not built in a single moment of brilliance. It's forged through thousands of ordinary days filled with extraordinary effort. Discipline is also about making hard choices in the present for the sake of a better future. It's about sacrificing short-term pleasure for long-term gain. It's skipping the night out so you can finish the project. It's saying no to the extra hour of rest so you can put in one more hour of training. And while most people see this as a burden, the disciplined see it as a privilege, the privilege of shaping their own destiny. Here's the thing. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows with use. The more you push yourself to follow through on your commitments, the stronger your discipline becomes. At first, it's uncomfortable. Your mind will resist. Your body will protest. But each time you override that resistance, you send a signal to yourself. I am in control, not my excuses. One powerful truth about discipline is that it creates freedom. It might sound like a contradiction, but think about it. When you discipline yourself to eat well, you gain the freedom of health. When you discipline yourself to save money, you gain the freedom to live without debt. When you discipline yourself to work on your craft every day, you gain the freedom of mastery. Discipline may feel like restriction in the moment, but in reality, it's the key to unlocking a life on your terms. And perhaps the most important thing to understand about self-discipline is that it builds trust, not with others, but with yourself. Every time you keep a promise you made to yourself, you strengthen your self-belief. You prove to yourself that you can be counted on. And when you trust yourself, you stop hesitating, you stop doubting, and you start acting with unstoppable confidence. Because at the end of the day, victory doesn't go to the one who works hardest once, it goes to the one who works hard consistently. The one who shows up on the good days and the bad. The one who has turned discipline into a way of life until the question is no longer, will I do it? But simply, what's the next step? Confronting the inner enemy, you can master your routine. You can commit to discipline. You can rise every time life knocks you down. But there is an enemy that lives closer than any obstacle you will ever face. It's not the competitor on the other side of the field. It's not the critic behind a screen. It's not even the circumstances you were born into. No, the greatest battle you will ever fight is against the voice in your own head. That voice knows your fears, your insecurities, your weaknesses. It knows exactly which doubts to whisper and when to whisper them. It says, you're not ready, you're not good enough. This isn't going to work. It tells you to play it safe, to lower your expectations, to give up before you embarrass yourself. And if you listen long enough, it will convince you that this prison of self-doubt is where you belong. The truth is, most people don't fail because of the world. They fail because they surrender to this inner enemy. They let it dictate their decisions. They give it the steering wheel of their lives. And once you hand over control, it doesn't just keep you from winning, it keeps you from even trying. You have to understand, the inner enemy will never truly disappear. You can't silence it forever, but you can weaken its grip. You can train yourself to recognize its lies. The key is not to wait until you feel fearless, but to act even when fear is screaming in your ears. Fear's job is to protect you from risk, but left unchecked, it will protect you from growth too. This enemy takes many forms. Sometimes it's self-doubt, making you second-guess every move until you're paralyzed. Sometimes it's fear of failure, convincing you that it's safer not to try at all. Other times it's laziness, that seductive voice telling you that you can do it tomorrow, that one skipped day won't matter. But here's the thing, every time you give in, you make that enemy stronger, and every time you push through, you make yourself stronger. One of the most powerful ways to confront the inner enemy is through truth. When the voice says, "You can't do this," answer with proof from your own lifetimes you thought you couldn't, but did anyway. When it says, "You're not ready," remind yourself that no one ever feels ready. But the act of starting is what creates readiness. When it says, "This is pointless," remind yourself of the vision that made you start in the first place. This is not about ignoring negative thoughts, it's about refusing to let them run your life. You can hear them, but you don't have to obey them. You are not your thoughts. You are the person who chooses what to do next. The inner enemy is clever. It will disguise itself as logic, as caution, as being realistic. It will tell you to take the smaller step, to wait for the perfect timing, to think it over just a little longer. But deep down, you know the truth. These are just excuses wrapped in comfortable language. And here's something important sometimes. The inner enemy's voice sounds like the voices of other people. It may echo the doubts you heard growing up. It may repeat the criticism someone once threw at you. But just because someone else didn't believe in you doesn't mean you have to carry that belief for the rest of your life. Every time you confront the inner enemy and take action anyway, you create a new version of yourself, a stronger version, a braver version, a version that proves, in real time, that you are not ruled by fear, by doubt, or by comfort. You are ruled by choice. And that choice is where victory begins. The push beyond limits there will come a point in your journey where you think you've reached your limit. Your body will ache. Your mind will scream. Everything in you will be begging you to stop. And in that moment, you will believe you have given everything you've got. But the truth, you've only touched the edge of your potential. Limits are not walls, they are illusions. They are the point where your mind's comfort zone ends, not where your true capacity ends. The problem is, most people stop there. They see that invisible line and they retreat. They think, this is as far as I can go. But the champions, the extraordinary few, they push one step further, and then another. They discover that there is always more inside them than they thought possible. You see, your mind is wired to protect you. It will sound alarms the moment you feel discomfort. It will tell you to pull back before you truly need to. That survival instinct, it keeps you safe. But safe is not where growth lives. Safe is where dreams go to die slowly. Growth, strength, greatness, they live beyond that first wall of resistance. Think about the runner who pushes past the point of exhaustion and discovers the second wind. Think about the student who studies long after their brain says it's done, only to grasp the concept that changes everything. Think about the entrepreneur who works through nights of doubt, only to watch their vision come alive. The magic doesn't happen in the comfort, it happens in the extra mile. Pushing beyond limits is not just about physical endurance. It's about mental toughness. It's about proving to yourself that pain, discomfort, and exhaustion are not signals to stop. They are signs that you are exactly where you need to be. When you learn to push past that breaking point, you stop being average, because average stops at the first sign of difficulty. Here's the truth: your potential is always greater than your perception. You are capable of more than you have ever imagined, but you'll never find out unless you challenge yourself to go further. And yes, it will hurt. Yes, it will be uncomfortable. But the discomfort is temporary. The strength you gain from it will last a lifetime. The people who achieve extraordinary success are not superhuman. They have simply trained themselves to keep going when everyone else quits. They've learned that the difference between good and great is often just one more step, one more rep, one more try. And here's the incredible thing: every time you push beyond what you thought was your limit moves. What felt impossible yesterday becomes your warm-up tomorrow. To push beyond limits, you must stop negotiating with yourself. You can't keep saying, just 5 more minutes, and then quit. You can't keep promising yourself you'll try harder tomorrow. The moment you feel that resistance, that's your cue to lean in, not back away. That's your signal to find out who you really are when the easy road disappears. And when you do push through, something powerful happens. You build trust with yourself on a whole new level. You prove, not in theory, but in action, that you can survive the struggle, that you can endure the pressure, that you can stand in the fire and still keep moving forward. And once you've felt that, once you've tasted the victory of going further, then your mind told you was possible. Quitting stops being an option. Because now you know the real growth, the real transformation, the real power is always on the other side of that limit you thought was yours. Building unshakable confidence when you push beyond your limits. Something begins to shift inside you. It's not just about finishing the task or surviving the challenge. It's about realizing, deep in your core, that you are capable of more than you ever believed. And that realization, that is the seed of unshakable confidence. Confidence is not arrogance. It's not about thinking you're better than everyone else. It's about knowing that you can handle whatever life throws your way. It's the quiet certainty that, no matter how hard the road gets, you have the strength, the discipline, and the courage to keep moving forward. Most people get confidence backwards. They think, once I feel confident, then I'll take action. But it doesn't work that way. Confidence does not magically appear out of thin air. It is built through action. Every time you show up, even when you're scared, even when you're tired, even when you're uncertain, you lay another brick in the foundation of your self-belief. This is why small wins matter. They may not seem significant at the time, but each one adds weight to the evidence that you can trust yourself. The first time you keep a promise to yourself. The first time you stick to your workout when you wanted to quit. The first time you speak up when fear tried to silence you. Each of these moments is a deposit into your confidence bank. And over time, that account grows into a fortune you can draw from whenever life tests you. But here's the thing: confidence is fragile if it's built only on achievement. If your sense of worth depends solely on success, then one failure can shatter it. True, unshakable confidence is built on identity, not results. It's built on the understanding that you are the kind of person who follows through, who adapts, no matter the outcome. When your confidence is rooted in identity, failure stops being a threat. It becomes feedback. You don't think, I failed, so I'm not capable. Instead, you think, I'm capable, so I'll learn from this and come back stronger. That shift changes everything. Suddenly, setbacks don't define you, they refine you. Building unshakable confidence means holding yourself to a standard even when no one is watching. It means keeping your word to yourself when it would be easier to break it. Because every broken promise to yourself chips away at your belief, and every kept promise strengthens it. You can't fake confidence with empty words. It's forged in the quiet moments. When you choose discipline over comfort, integrity over excuses. And here's something powerful: confidence is contagious. When you walk into a room with the energy of someone who knows they can figure things out, people feel it. They trust you more. They follow your lead. They see in you what they wish to see in themselves. Your confidence becomes a mirror that shows others what's possible for them too. But remember, unshakable confidence is not about being fearless. It's about acting despite the fear. The most confident people still feel uncertainty, still face moments of doubt, still question themselves. The difference is, they don't let those feelings dictate their actions. They've built a track record with themselves that says, I've done hard things before, and I can do them again. And when you reach that point when you know in your bones that no matter what happens, you will find a way through, you stop being at the mercy of circumstances. You stop waiting for perfect opportunities. You stop shrinking yourself to fit in with the crowd. You move with certainty, with purpose, with the kind of quiet strength that doesn't need to be shouted to be felt. That's when you've built something no one can take away. That's when your confidence stops being a mood and becomes a way of life. Surrounding yourself with the right energy, no matter how strong your mindset becomes, no matter how disciplined or confident you are, the people and environments around you will either fuel your growth or drain it. You can be climbing toward your dreams with everything you've got. But if you're surrounded by negativity, by doubt, by those who constantly pull you back to the level you've already outgrown, you will feel like you're running uphill with a weight tied to your back. Energy is contagious. You've felt it before. You've walked into a room where people were passionate, ambitious, full of possibility, and suddenly you felt more alive, more focused, more ready to push forward. And you've also been in rooms where everyone was complaining, making excuses, gossiping about others, and before you knew it, your own energy sank to match theirs. This is why protecting your environment is not a luxury, it's a necessity. You can't keep feeding your mind with doubt, fear, and negativity and expect to produce courage, action, and results. What goes in will always come out. If you surround yourself with people who tell you it can't be done, soon you'll believe it. But if you're around those who challenge you, inspire you, and remind you of your potential, your belief in yourself will grow even stronger. Here's a hard truth: sometimes the people draining your energy are the ones closest to you. Friends, family, co-workers, people you've known for years. It doesn't always come from malice. Sometimes it comes from their own fear, their own limitations, their own unhealed wounds. But even if their intentions are not bad, their influence can still hold you back. This is where you have to make one of the most difficult decisions in your journey. You must set boundaries. You must decide that your growth is worth protecting, even if it means disappointing people. You must create space between yourself and anyone who constantly discourages your progress, belittles your dreams, or tries to keep you in the version of yourself you are working so hard to outgrow. And it's not just about removing the wrong energy, it's about actively seeking out the right energy. Find the people who make you want to level up, the ones who challenge you when you're slacking, the ones who celebrate your wins without envy and tell you the truth when you're making excuses. These are the people who will help you rise faster than you could alone. Energy also comes from what you consume, the books you read, the content you watch, the conversations you engage in. All of it is shaping your mindset every single day. You have to treat your mind like sacred ground. Feed it with ideas that expand you. Surround it with voices that push you toward courage, not fear. And understand this: you are allowed to outgrow people, places, and habits. Growth often means letting go of what once felt comfortable. It means walking away from old circles, not because you think you're better, but because you know you're meant for more. Some people will understand, others won't. But this journey isn't about convincing them, it's about becoming who you're capable of being. When you curate your environment with intention, something powerful happens. Your goals start to feel more possible, not because they got easier, but because you're no longer fighting the invisible current of negativity pulling you back. Instead, you're moving with the current of support, encouragement, and ambition. You're no longer alone in the climb. You're surrounded by people who are climbing too. And in that kind of environment, your potential doesn't just grow, it multiplies. Relentless consistency. The final key: you can have the strongest mindset, the deepest confidence, and the most supportive environment in the world, but none of it matters if you can't keep going. Consistency is where dreams are built or destroyed. It's not the big, dramatic bursts of effort that shape your destiny, it's the quiet, repeated actions you take every single day, especially on the days when no one is watching and nothing seems to be happening. Most people fail not because they aren't capable, but because they stop too soon. They plant the seed and water it for a week, maybe a month, then walk away when they don't see instant results. But success doesn't work on your timeline, it works on the timeline of patience, discipline, and persistence. The real rewards belong to those who keep showing up long after the initial excitement fades. Consistency is the bridge between intention and achievement. It's easy to set a goal. It's easy to get excited in the beginning. But what separates the few who make it from the many who don't is the ability to show up on the days that feel boring, exhausting, or hopeless. The winners understand that progress isn't always visible in the moment, but every small step compounds into something extraordinary over time. Think of a sculptor chipping away at a block of stone. From the outside, the first hundreds of strikes look like nothing is changing, but each one is weakening the resistance of the stone until, one day, a masterpiece begins to emerge. That's what relentless consistency does. It creates invisible progress until one day the results become undeniable. Consistency is also a form of self-respect. When you commit to doing something every day, you're telling yourself that your word matters. You're proving to yourself that you can be trusted to follow through. And the more you keep that promise to yourself, the stronger your identity becomes as someone who finishes what they start. But here's the part that makes consistency so powerful. It doesn't require perfection. You will have bad days. You will miss a step. You will make mistakes. That's part of being human. But relentless consistency is not about never falling, it's about never staying down for long. It's about getting back to the work quickly, without letting one missed day turn into a missed week, or a missed month, or a missed dream. The people who seem unstoppable are not superhuman, they've just mastered the art of continuing. They've learned how to push through boredom, how to keep working without the rush of motivation, and how to stay focused even when distractions are everywhere. They know that momentum is built through repetition, and losing momentum is the fastest way to kill progress. One of the greatest gifts of consistency is that it turns hard things into habits. At first, the discipline feels heavy. The work feels uphill. But with enough repetition, The effort starts to feel automatic. The habit takes over. And when something becomes part of your routine, it no longer depends on willpower, it becomes who you are. And here's something most people overlook: consistency compounds. The small action you take today may not look like much, but when stacked on top of yesterday's action, and the day before, and the week before, it builds a force that is unstoppable. That's why those who stay the course eventually leave everyone else behind. It's not because they sprinted faster, but because they never stopped walking. Consistency is not flashy. It won't get you applause today, but it will get you results tomorrow. And in the end, it's not the occasional moments of greatness that create success, it's the relentless choice to show up again and again until what you once dreamed becomes your new normal. Final call to Ricino is the moment to stand. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when the fear fades or the path becomes clear. The time to rise is now, because life is not waiting for you to be perfect, and neither are the opportunities that are meant for you. Every second you hesitate, every moment you choose comfort over courage, is a second life passes you by. You cannot reclaim it. You cannot pause the world while you gather your strength. If you want to win, if you want to live with purpose, if you want to reach heights you've only dreamed of, you must rise today. Rising is not just about standing from failure or fatigue, it's about claiming your power. In the face of everything that tells you to quit, it's about looking fear in the eye and saying, "You do not control me. I control me." It's about understanding that every challenge you have faced, every obstacle you have endured, every doubt you have battled inside your mind has been preparing you for this moment. You are stronger than you think. You are capable of more than you realize. And you are the only person who can make yourself unstoppable. When you rise, you declare war on excuses. You stop letting circumstances dictate your path. You stop waiting for the perfect conditions to show up, because the truth is, life will never hand you perfect conditions. There will always be obstacles. There will always be fear. There will always be moments when giving up seems easier than pushing forward. But winning is not about waiting for the right moment, it is about creating it with your action, with your courage, and with your refusal to settle for anything less than what you know you can achieve. Rising is also about responsibility. You are the only person accountable for your life. No one else can do the work for you. No one else can push you through the pain, through the doubt, through the moments when your energy runs dry. The world does not owe you success, happiness, or fulfillment. It only gives what you earn. And earning it starts with a single choice: the choice to rise, to push, to act. Remember the lessons that have brought you here. Winning is built on persistence, not luck. Resilience is forged in the struggle, not in comfort. Discipline creates power, not fleeting motivation. Confidence is grown through action, not waiting. Surrounding yourself with the right energy propels you further than talent alone. And relentless consistency compounds into results that no one can ignore. All of these truths converge in one moment, the moment you decide to rise. Rising is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is as simple as taking the next step when your body wants to stop. Speaking your truth when fear wants you silent. continuing your work when the world seems indifferent. And yet, these small acts, repeated over and over, create a force that cannot be contained. They make the impossible possible. They turn doubt into certainty, hesitation into momentum, and fear into fuel. The world will challenge you. Life will test you. You will face days when nothing seems to be working, when the weight of failure feels unbearable, when giving up seems not only easier, but justified. But in those moments, remember this: every person you admire, every story of triumph, every life that inspires you has been built on the same principle: you rise again and again, until standing becomes second nature, until resilience becomes your default, until you are no longer defined by the falls, but by the rises. So rise. Rise when your body aches. Rise when your mind says enough. Rise when no one is cheering. Rise because you are capable, because you are worthy, and because you have been given only one life to create the greatness that is waiting inside you. Rise and push yourself past fear, past doubt, past every limitation that has ever held you back. Rise, because your victory begins the moment you decide it does. Your moment to win everything. We've explored the truth about winning, the power of getting up, the discipline that fuels action, confronting your inner enemy, pushing beyond limits, building unshakable confidence, surrounding yourself with the right energy, relentless consistency, and the final call to rise leads to one undeniable truth: your life, your success, and your victory begin with you. You have the power to choose today. You have the strength to act even when fear whispers stop. You have the discipline to stay the course when motivation fades. You have the courage to confront every doubt, every limitation, every voice that tells you you can't. And you have the ability to rise again and again, turning setbacks into stepping stones, struggles into triumphs, and dreams into reality. Winning is not about luck. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment or hoping someone else will hand it to you. Winning is about choice, about action, about refusing to settle for anything less than your potential. It's about committing to yourself, even when the road is hard, even when the nights are long, even when no one is watching. Every small act, every daily effort, every refusal to give in builds the unstoppable force that becomes your life. Remember this: the world will always test you. Life will throw challenges that feel impossible. But inside you, there is a fire that no obstacle can extinguish. Inside you, there is a resilience that no defeat can destroy. Inside you, there is greatness waiting not somewhere out there, but right here, inside your heart, ready to be claimed. So rise, push, act, commit, persist, surround yourself with energy that lifts you, develop the habits that define you, and chase your goals with relentless consistency. Every moment you choose courage over comfort, action over hesitation, you move closer to the life you were born to live. The choice is yours. Today is yours. This is your moment. Don't let it pass. Stand tall, step forward, rise, and win the life you deserve.